Okay, welcome everyone. It's weekend wind down. I hope you can join us today because today is going to be information packed. My guest is Robin White from timetotest.com, which I really want to ask you why you came up with that name in a second. But let's cheers first to weekend wind down.
Cheers.
Cheers. So Robin's healthier than me. She's drinking water, and I'm getting there. One of these days, you'll see me.
Water in a wine glass. I'm on a health kick now.
You know what? When I'm trying to drink more water, that is one of the things that I do is I put it in a wine glass just to, even during the day, just to make it feel special.
It dresses it up.
It does dress it up. So, all right, Robin, we are here to talk about websites and what the must-haves are. But before we do that, give a little history about you.
Sure. So I'm Robin White, and my business is called Time to Task. My goal is to take the frustration and the overwhelm of website design and all the tech that goes with it that nobody wants to deal with off your plate so that you have more time and more energy to focus on your business and your clients and the things you love to do that don't stress you out. And my goal is to make the whole design process as simple and sort of techie free. So using a simple language and not complicated technical terms that nobody understands.
And that really is what makes a good designer, a web designer, because they can put tech into English.
Exactly. That's my goal. And making it a fun process. Your website is your most important marketing tool. And you want it to represent you and to represent your business. So let's have fun while we're doing this really important thing.
Yes, because it's really sometimes torture for people. And I want to mention that I don't know how long ago it was that you reached out to me and we met, but you're in my group, the Interior Design Business Forum, and you did a training that sits in my membership site for my clients, my membership site clients, my group clients, and my one-on-one. That was 8 website monthly maintenance must-dos, which is a little bit of a tongue twister, but I have to tell you that training that sits in that membership site is so valuable for a business owner. Like, don't just hand over the reins to somebody and not know what they should be doing. At least have some knowledge. And that was just incredible.
Yes. And we talked a lot about, how to take care of your website every month, but also the really important items you need to get from your website designer. I remember we talked a lot about that because I've come across quite a few interior designers who hired a website designer to do their website and then afterwards didn't have access to it or know how to log into it or know if that designer, and they hired them to take care of the website monthly for them, what they were actually doing. So we talked quite a bit about the questions to ask to know that everything was being taken care of properly for you.
Yeah, it's a really valuable training. So thank you for doing that. But
you're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay, so here we are today. Let's just talk about, well, first of all, you have a pug. I have to bring that up right from the beginning because your dog, not that you weren't attractive to me, but your dog was like, wait, she has a pug. And I grew up with a pug, 2 pugs actually. So I right away went, okay, I have to talk to this girl. So
and I love that you grew up with pugs. And I don't know if you can see behind me, there's actually a picture of her hanging up there. It was a photo that I took of her actually in Peaks Island in Maine, right on the Rocky Coast. And a friend of mine took the photo and did that little drawing for me.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, she's adorable. My chief dog officer. Her name is Lulu, and she's 12 and a half. She's my baby, my chief dog officer, and the best office assistant I could ask for.
I love pugs. They're the best. And if you could see my dresser in my bedroom, it is lined with pugs, even though now I have a toy Yorkie Poo and I've had a lab. Pugs still have my heart, although they're highly allergic dogs and my kids are allergic, so I didn't get a pug. But anyway, so let's talk about websites.
Okay.
And this is not just for interior designers. This is really just the 10 website must-haves, right?
Yes. Yeah. Some of
Okay.
it's a little specific to interior designers, but most of it is for any industry across the board. And while I specialize in the WordPress platform, these must-haves really go across the board, whether your website is on WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, Weebly, whatever platform you decided to use.
Okay. Don't say Wix to me. I hate Wix. And I don't know anything about Weebly. What is Weebly? I've never even heard of it.
Weebly, it's another platform. It's, again, like Wix, not one that I would personally recommend, but I mention it because some people use it.
All right. If you guys are listening, let us know that you can hear us. Say hi to us. Say happy weekend wind down, and let us know that you hear us, and tell us what platform you currently have.
I'd love to know.
Yeah, you guys on WordPress, Wix, which I hope you're not. Squarespace is pretty good.
Yes.
So, all right, let's talk about the websites.
Perfect. So the first must-have I'd love to talk about is having a simple menu. And I'll say the techie term for menu is navigation. So if you hear me say that by accident, I am referring to your menu. And that's really how people move around your website. So a couple of things that I would say about that: to make it simple, you want to name your pages simply. Don't get too creative so that people don't understand what the page actually is.
Yes.
You can call your blog, and then within the blog page, you can give it a fun, fancy title. But if you call it blog in the menu, people will know exactly what it is. And if you give it a funny name, they may not know what it is. Be obvious. Call your services services. So keep that really simple, and also keep your menu looking consistent from page to page. A lot of times I'll go on someone's website and the menu on the homepage looks different from the menu on the services page. And I sometimes think it's a weird glitch or something that wasn't set up properly, but that consistency and cohesiveness throughout is really important. So simple, and also not too many pages in the menu. You can use drop downs if you have more pages that you want to have in your main menu. And you can also utilize a footer menu for things that maybe aren't as top priority to have in the main menu. So simple navigation.
Okay, and we do have people commenting. They're commenting from inside the group. So I'm trying to put the link that if you guys click on that link and do whatever the link says, it's Be Live, it's safe. I'll be able to see your name when you comment. So if you're watching from inside the group, but we have, so I'm looking up at my other monitor so I can see who's commenting. So Sandra is asking, why not Wix? I've been on Wix.
Do you want to take that, Nancy, or do you want me to?
You know what? I'm not a web designer, but I will tell you historically that Wix does not get found with SEO as much as Squarespace or WordPress. And that's really the biggest issue. If you're going, that I know of as a non-techie. So any client of mine who's been on Wix, once they're ready to do their website, I always try to encourage them to go over to WordPress or Squarespace. So am I correct in that?
You are absolutely correct. I can't tell you how many websites I've moved off of Wix onto WordPress because it's also not as robust a platform. With WordPress, if you can imagine it, you can do it, and Wix is just more limiting. So sometimes I think people really like to start there because it's a very simple platform.
Yes.
But I think if you are thinking long term, it is easier to start with a more robust platform and just keep that simple until you're ready to grow. I mean, moving is doable, but it's a rebuild. Wix doesn't allow you to export everything, page by page into a different platform. So it can be done, but it's easier to start on the right platform from the beginning.
Okay.
SEO is very important, especially for interior designers who are local businesses for the most part. So
yeah, right. At the local business, you want to be found.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'm trying to look. try to click the Be Live link that I put in the comments, everyone, and sign up for whatever they're asking. It is safe. I've had many people do it. This way we can see your name when I post your question. Is it different from the free and paid packages? Are you talking about Wix? Yes, it's different person. So not sure if they're talking about.
I don't work in Wix. I can't speak to their packages.
Right.
I'm going to imagine that you do have to pay because I can't imagine that they have a completely free package. For WordPress, there's WordPress.org and WordPress.com. WordPress.com is actually, you can have free hosting there, but it's very limited. I don't necessarily recommend that. WordPress.org is what is called self-hosted, meaning you can find and use whatever website host you want to, and the WordPress software itself is free.
Okay, so that's like you could host it on GoDaddy or okay. So yeah, they were talking about Wix Packages, which you're not familiar with, and all I know is yeah, no, neither am I. And again, not a lot of web designers that I refer people to do anything with Wix because it's so limited and it tends not to be good for your SEO, which is search engine optimization for those of you who don't know, and you want to be found, you want to have good SEO, a good solid SEO website. So, okay, so that was tip number one. Make your menu simple, not fancy, English language, things that everyone's going to understand. And I do see that all the time. All these fancy words. I'm like, what does that mean? If I have to try to interpret a word, I am bouncing off.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. You have to make everything simple and clear, because if you're presented with too many options, you just get paralyzed and leave.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's go to number two.
Number two actually kind of flows right into it. Number two is a clear call to action, which some people refer to as a CTA, stands for call to action. Basically, what is the number one thing you want someone who lands on your website to do? That's your call to action. And that's what you want to guide them through doing on every single page of your website. So some examples, I would imagine for interior designers, a call to action would be book a discovery call with me. That's usually the first step. And then that would lead into your paid consultation. So if book a call is the main objective of your website, you either want to have that on every single page with a button that links to your contact form or your booking page, depending on how you have things set up. But you want to make that clear and really simple, that this is the main thing you want everyone who hits your website to do, and put it on every page. You never know how people are entering your website, so repetition is fine.
Yeah, and again, to keep it simple, like sometimes just, want to talk to me, like, and here's where the confusion comes in, right? Because a lot of us say, and I still say you should have her opt in on your page, something that people want to download, something they want, and that's in order to grow your email list. However, that's not really what you want people to do primarily, because if they click the link to talk to you, they're giving you their email address also, and you can add them to your list. And that's really the goal for any service-based entrepreneur, to get them on your calendar as a first course of action. So
yes, and
yeah,
I will
make
say
that clear.
With a lot of websites, I know you can do this in WordPress, you can have a contact form that somebody fills out and the submission gets emailed to you. And they also, after filling out the form, get redirected to your booking page. So it's all in one. Sometimes it's really nice to get some of that preliminary information from them in a form before they actually hit your booking page.
Yeah, and you know what? Less stops along the path is always good, but sometimes you have to put in an extra stop. Like we're redoing my website right now, and we're trying to make it that you don't have to go to a landing page and then here and then there. Like we're trying to go as direct as possible. It's not always possible, depending on how you've set yourself up, at this point. But less stops along the path is going to make people have less likely to bounce off.
For sure. And if you do have that sort of preliminary contact form, you don't want to make it too cumbersome for them to fill out.
Oh yeah, some people have long questionnaires, first name, last name, firstborn. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, just why do you need everything?
Right. Yeah.
Right. The easier you can make it for someone to open the front door to your shop, right? You got to look at it like you're a shop.
Yes.
The easiest way in the door. That's what you want to do for that first entry point. Yep. So
exactly.
Okay.
So
all right. So
call to action.
Call to action. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Number 3. Don't shoot me, but professional photography.
I know. And listen, I get it. I just went through a photo shoot. I loved all my pictures and I have a ton. But it's expensive, it's time consuming, it's intimidating, it's new clothes sometimes, right?
And so it's important.
It's so important.
It's so important. And I'm talking professional photography for both your portfolio and for you, for your headshot. It's for both. Cell phones nowadays are pretty good quality, but please don't use a selfie. And don't use a really outdated photo either. And the reason I say that is, when you show up at your client's home for your paid consult, you want to look similar to how
you better look more than similar. It's like going on a date and looking completely different than your profile picture. You do not want to do that, people. I've even had people who come, I don't know if it's anyone in my group currently, but they've all corrected if it was. I've had people come to my group coaching or my first consult with them, and then they've decided to go in my group. But when I look at their website, I think that I know what they're going to look like. And then they come to my Zoom meeting and I'm like, whoa. And it's not that it's better or worse, it's just different. So I will say to them eventually, if they coach with me, you really should update your picture so that you look like yourself when you walk in the door.
Yes.
So funny.
And your portfolio, the photography, it's so important because that's what's representing your work. And that can be what makes a potential client decide to contact you. So it's just not something you want to skimp on. And a professional can always capture it better than we can.
But it is intimidating for newer designers or designers who work, they don't always do full service design, right? They'll do pieces that someone needs them to do, and they never get that opportunity to have a whole room or a whole beautiful space, maybe because the client didn't have good taste either, right? And they don't want it to represent them. Right. So have you had any clients with any other tricks on how to get beautiful shots, even though it might not be their own portfolio?
It's a tricky situation because I feel, especially as an interior designer, you don't want to use stock photography.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to in the beginning, but other times you can also put together a mood board, your style. You can do a 3D rendering of a room, often looks just as good as a live room.
Try to style a room in your own home and have pictures taken. I've had some clients when they're just starting in interior design where they might do things for friends and family in return for being able to do photos, get a testimonial. It builds up their portfolio in the beginning when maybe they haven't had a real job yet. So thinking creatively like that, I think, is better than stock photography.
I've even told people, go into an interior design showroom and say, can I rearrange some stuff and take some pictures and hide the price tags? Anything that shows your flair, if you have to, only if you have to.
Yes.
If you can take professional photos of your own work, it's obviously always the best.
I'll tell you a funny story. I actually had a professional photo shoot done about 11 months ago, and I did photos of me with Lulu, and I had her do, photos of me at a computer, flat lays that I could use for social media because I didn't want to use stock photography. And I'm starting to feel like maybe it's time for some new ones. And my photographer just had a baby, so she's out of commission for a little while. So I was looking at Creative Market, where you pay a bit more for stock photography. And there's some beautiful photos on there. And I was seriously thinking of buying a package. And then I saw another website designer using one of the photos from the package that I was thinking of purchasing. And I'm like, that just made my decision for me. I want to be unique. I want my imagery on my website to be unique. And I don't want it to be something else that someone else is using. So,
That's interesting, yeah, because you'd never think you're going to run into the people.
but
There's so many people who have websites, and yet you ran into somebody who used the one. Wow, I'm
exactly. So I'll keep
surprised.
using mine until she's ready to do another shoot with me. So, Um,
Absolutely,
visuals are
absolutely.
just really important. So I highly recommend, if you're able to hire a professional to do your photography.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
John.
excellent. And
Next.
that kind of leads into the next one, which is quality over quantity in your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are all really tempted to put everything we've ever done in our portfolio. But truly, clients aren't going to hire you based on the number of rooms or homes you've decorated. They're going to hire you based on the quality of the work that you've done. So I think it's really important to almost consistently be curating your portfolio page and making
Yes.
sure that it's representative of your best work and your style. So, if 10 years ago you were all about mid century modern and now you're not, um, maybe you shouldn't be focusing on the mid century modern photos in your portfolio. Is that misleading potential clients of your style? But definitely less is more.
And I see people do this all the time because well, I want to put the children's rooms up there because I want people to know I do children's rooms. And I'm like, yeah, but that children's room didn't come out so good because it was what the client wanted. It's not a reflection
Right.
on your work. Like, listen, we all know that we have clients in the world that are very demanding and they have their set style and you've had to design just for them.
Yes.
And you don't necessarily like what was there. So don't put that photo up just to show you do children's rooms. Because if it's not a children's room that's appealing, that could turn them off to even hiring you for
Mhm.
another room,
Right. Right. And your
right?
portfolio is really what sets you apart from all the other interior designers in your service area, that they could hire as well. So you want it to be unique to you and really showcase
Absolutely.
your talents.
Okay. All right. We're rolling along here. We're doing
All
well.
right.
Any questions, guys? Just put it in the chat.
Oh, someone
Okay.
thought that was a good point. Thank you,
I think it
Julie.
was the one before that. I think it was the point
Oh,
before that. I missed putting it up in
oh,
time. But
okay.
either way, you made a good point.
So number 5 is testimonials. You definitely want to make use of testimonials on your website. And if you have enough, I recommend having a separate testimonials page. And I also, where you can write out the full testimonial, because sometimes clients are very generous and they write something quite lengthy. And that's beautiful. That's wonderful. And that can go on a testimonials page. But what I also recommend is having a couple of testimonials on other pages of your website where you can take a snippet from the full testimonial that really relates to what you're talking about on that page. So, for example, on your About page, have a couple of testimonials on there and lift a few sentences out of the full testimonial where the client is speaking specifically to what it was like to work with you.
Mm.
And put that on your About page. Likewise, you can take something and put it on your services page, a testimonial where someone's speaking very specifically to the service you provided, how helpful you were, things like that. So really think about lifting a couple of sentences out of the testimonials and putting them on different pages of your website. Homepage, you can put some, and these can be put in a testimonial carousel, like a slider, where it just keeps sliding through.
Yep, I've seen them.
Yeah, or you can just do it with maybe, a colored background so it stands out a little bit. There's lots of creative ways to fit it in design wise, but testimonials are a fantastic way to sell yourself without being salesy, because someone
Yes.
else is saying the words, not you. So they're a really great thing to utilize.
I also like when I see when there is a long testimonial. I'm a scanner. I'm never going to read every word. So I always like either to truncate extra words, because some people can give more information than anyone needs, even though it made you feel good. So I do condone truncating it, even on the testimonial page if it's too much, but mostly bolding or highlighting or italicing, something that shows that if I'm a scanner, what do I care about? What are the best 2-3 things that somebody said in a long
Fantastic
testimonial?
idea. Yes. And you can also have the full testimonial there, but have a read more that they click on through
Oh,
the full testimonial. So maybe you only show the first 5 lines or something like that. And then there's a read more click, and that would bring up the rest of it if somebody wanted to read more.
okay. And I like the fact too, when someone puts in, especially for an interior designer or a service-based entrepreneur, where the person's located. If they don't feel comfortable putting their full name, at least put a first name and where they're located, because that's going to help with the SEO too, right? If you have a town or.
Yes, it is. That's my next point.
Oh, sorry, jumping ahead.
No, that's
All
totally
right.
okay, because you know what you're talking about.
I've been doing this a little while, this coaching stuff.
Exactly, exactly. So must-have number 6 is having your contact information and your location all over your website. Location, especially for interior designers. And I realize with COVID, things have changed and a lot of designers are moving to virtual design and
Yes.
e-design. So everything isn't always location specific, but that component is still there. And that component, if you have pivoted away from it, will come back. So where you're located and what your service area is crucial to have on your website. And this is really for SEO, search engine optimization. I recommend having a contact page with a contact form, but also put your email address there, put your phone number there. And I think we've frozen.
Yeah, you got a little, you got a little delayed. Your mouth didn't match your words, but we're good. We're still alive.
Are we okay? Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
It's not your fault. It's the computer. It
So you'll want
happens
to have,
sometimes.
it does. You'll want to have your phone number and your email address on that contact page. And then I also recommend putting your location there. So let's say you live in Dallas, Texas, but let's say you service clients within 20 minutes of the DFW airport. You want to have that on there. You can list out the towns that you service. That's great for SEO as well. And you can also put your contact information and your location in the footer. That is the bottom part of your website that appears on every page. And that can be really useful as well. And
Now let's talk about phone number.
Yes.
Not everybody wants their phone number out there because they don't answer and they don't want to get caught off guard.
I know, and I'm the same way.
I know, I don't answer. If I don't recognize the number, I do not pick up. And my
care.
phone number is out there. And I have considered getting a Google phone number or something like that. But you know what? Whatever. I don't answer anyway if I don't recognize it. But is there another reason why they should have their phone number that you know of?
Well, one reason I think they should have their phone number is if you are working with people over a certain age, they may just be more comfortable picking up the phone and calling you than emailing you, which is technical, filling out a form, which is technical. They may not want to submit all of that information. So are you losing out on some potential clients because you don't have your phone number there? And that's
actually a good point. That's a really good point. There's some people who are just afraid to put their information into the computer at all, and they're more likely to pick up the phone and leave you a message than they would be to fill out a form.
Yeah, we all have different personalities and how we like to reach out to people. This is just giving everybody every option, and you may not want to do it. The other thing is, bonus tip for local businesses is you should have a Google My Business listing.
I just talked about that today in my group, Profit Insiders for Interior Designers. We literally had people checking to see if they have a Google listing.
It's free. You should totally do it. They will ask for your phone number, and they will not consider your profile 100% complete if that's not there. So I get it. You know, we don't want to put our phone number out on the internet. We all get a ton of spam calls. It's super annoying.
Yep.
But, you know, that's a business choice. Everybody has to make their own choice with that. But I do recommend putting it there, just so you're not losing any potential clients.
And if your listing matches, Google My Business listing matches your website, the more points that match,
yeah, that's very
again, right? The more Google's going to drive you to the top and realize you're legit.
Yes.
And if people are finding you on Google and then going over to your website, that helps the whole cycle of the analytics.
Yes.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And the reason putting your location on your website is so important, I'll just use Dallas again as an example. If somebody in Dallas searches interior designer near me, and they're in Dallas, and you have Dallas down as your location, you'll come up.
Now, what if you have the towns that you also serve going across somewhere?
So I don't know what the Google algorithm does in terms of distance, you know, so like if you put Dallas, how far out of Dallas that would actually take people. But this is getting a little too technical, but you can build out separate SEO pages on your website that are specifically built for keywords, interior designer.
Ones that show or ones that are hidden?
They are indexable by Google, but they would not show up in your menu. So it's a way somebody can enter your website if they've searched for those keywords.
Yes. You just taught me something. I did not know that.
Yes. I was actually just talking with one of the interior designers who I built a website for, who I take care of her website on a monthly basis. And I just showed her today a design that I did for I'm calling it an SEO page template, so that as she comes up with different keywords that she'd like to rank for, I'll design pages. We'll use the same design so I can keep it fast, but, you know, put in different images, different copy, different keywords for these pages. So it's another.
But it doesn't show?
It won't show in your menu, but let's say we did one for Dallas interior designer, and that's what we named the page, and that's what the keyword was, and we used that in the meta description, and then that keyword appeared in the copy of the page, and all the images were named that. It would eventually start to show up higher if somebody.
So somebody would click on it, they'd see the page, which is why it has to be beautiful, but it doesn't show.
Be just like the rest of your website looks, and the menu is still at the top, and you have buttons on the page that take them to other pages of your website.
But if they enter your website through the home page, they won't necessarily show that way.
If they enter through any of the pages in your menu, they would never know that page existed.
Okay, this is Teresa, if you're watching. I don't know if she's here, but if you're watching, I want to talk about this for my new website design, because I can create pages for all the different types of businesses I do coach in the background, indexable, but not showing as primarily on my menu items. I think that's fascinating. You just taught me something new.
It takes a while. doesn't happen
Yeah,
overnight.
for it to come up indexable. Absolutely. Everything takes a while. That's why I love when people say, I just created my website and I don't get any hits on it. I'm like, you just put it up yesterday. Like,
It's a good 6 months, I think, before you're going to start to see it move up a little bit, off of page 10, closer to page 3, depending
right.
on what the keywords are. If you're trying, for me, if I'm trying to rank for website designer, I'll never show up anywhere near page 1. I'm competing with everyone in the whole wide world.
That's right. That's right. That's why niche is rich and broad is broke. And you have to decide who you serve primarily and make sure that's written into your website so that it comes up, right?
And local SEO is easier to crack into because it's location specific, and I call it competition, even though I don't like to say that, but your local competition is much smaller than worldwide competition. So
right.
ranking for Dallas interior designer is going to be much easier than interior designer.
Absolutely. Love it. Okay. All right. What number are we up to?
We are on number 7. And
okay.
That is all about your about page. And the tip is have an about page that is unique to you. Don't be generic. You are a unique person. Let that stand out on your about page. Interior design is a front-facing industry. You're facing your clients. You're not hidden behind something. Like, you're working with them face to face. Like, they're letting you into their home. They want to know who you are.
Oh, absolutely.
So
There are
share,
still people who don't have pictures of themselves.
no pictures. And I've come across some where I can't even find your name.
Oh my God, me too. And
Please put
and
your
some of
name
them
on your
some of them
about page.
contact me and I'm like, but who are you?
Yes.
And it's not just interior designers. There are other companies that says we. I'm like, and who are you? There are people who've reached out to me that have wanted to be on Weekend Wind Down, and I don't know. They get to their website. I'm like, I don't know you. I don't feel any connection to you. I don't see your face. I don't see your name. And then you won't get on Zoom with me. Hello, that's not the way business is done these days.
No, you really need an image of you, a good professional headshot that looks like you. Your name should be there. It should be professional, but personal. Share some personal information, fun tidbits about me, and list out a couple of things. If you have a dog and your dog's important to you, let people know that. Lulu is on my about page. She's my chief dog officer. There's photos of her. There's a link to her Instagram. It makes me relatable to people who are dog lovers. So that's really helpful, but don't make it read like a resume. And don't make it all about you. It needs to be about what you can do for your potential client. What problem do you solve for them? What frustration do you take away from them? How will they feel after working with you? Like, those are the kinds of things you want to think about, and make it unique to you. Like, why should they hire you over the 15 other interior designers who are in the same service area?
And that's hard for a lot of designers. They're like, I'm not anything special. I don't have anything different. I'm like, you do. You just have to figure it out. You just have to, you know what? I'm a pickleball playing cat lover, like anything. Most people have more to their life than just work. You could be a mom, a dad, a daughter, a son, like something that means something to you. Put it out there, because it really does change the way people relate to you. Oh my God, like hugely. And I do lessons on this all the time about how you want to share about yourself, because people remember different things.
Yes, they do.
And they may not remember everything you say about websites, but they're going to be like, wait, I remember the pug picture in the back, or right, something.
Yeah.
It's
true.
really interesting how people's memories work.
Mm-hmm. And it could be, that you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. It could be that you like to garden. I mean, whatever it is don't make it up, make it unique to you.
Absolutely. If you like to cook, if you're vegetarian, if you're vegan, if you're, and like whatever it is, the movie lover, your favorite TV show, if you have a series that you watch, something that people can go, oh my God, I relate to that. And I like what you said about making, and this is a constant battle and conversation, but the about page is supposed to be about me. And they want to list all the magazines they were published in, if they've been in published magazines, and all the podcasts and all this. And I'm like, no, it still has to be about them, what you can do for them.
Yeah.
So don't, like you said, don't just list out credentials, how many years experience you have, all the places you've been published. It's a different day and age. That's really the old school websites.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes for people to realize that if a website's more than, I don't know, what do you think, 3 to 5 years old?
Yeah.
It might have to be something you look at.
Yeah, it's time for a redesign probably. If it's.
And this is why you charge your worth, because you need professional pictures, you need a website, so you're not just charging a client for what they think you're doing for them. You're charging what makes a profitable enough business to get all these assets in place that you need in order to continue to attract new clients.
Absolutely. And just to go off topic for a second, it's not just your about page that shouldn't be about you, it's your whole website. Your whole website, the focus should be on your ideal client. It's all about them, what you can do for them.
Yes. And when you look at your website, put myself in the shoes of a client, not what you want to tell them about you. What would they want to know before they hire you? So it's a whole different perspective. It is hard.
It's hard. Nancy and I were just talking before this about the words copy on your website, and it's the single biggest struggle that my clients have. It's a true gift to be able to write website copy, and it's challenging because you are sharing something about yourself, and that can be really hard to do. And that's why there's copywriters. There's really good copywriters out there.
Right, and it could feel icky if you don't do it in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to just be like, oh my God, I'm fabulous, right? You should hire me. I'm fabulous. You have to really, what would they want to read?
Right.
What's the outcome of working with you is really the goal.
Yeah. And that's different depending on who your ideal client is. You know, if your ideal client's a millennial versus someone in their 60s or 70s, you're going to speak to them very differently. So
yes,
I know Teresa has talked about that, and it is very, very important to think about who you're targeting.
Right, which is why it's important for them to get to the crux, and that's why we work on that so much with my clients, who your ideal client is, because otherwise you're talking to everyone, which means you're talking to no one. Nope. And I know everyone has heard that sentence a million times, but you'll keep hearing it because it's true.
Mm-hmm. It's so important. So important.
It is.
And it doesn't mean that you can't work with someone who falls outside of that. It just means that that's who you're speaking to. And you're supposed to get as specific, you know, their sex, their age, their income, like really specific. So you're speaking to this person. And one way to do that is think of someone who you've worked with in the past, who you've loved to work with. Model your ideal client off of that person as a starting point.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I read a case study once. I'm trying to think of where I read it. It was like, it might have been a case study about Estee Lauder, and they were coming out with another product, and they sat in the planning team, and someone said, and I'm going to just make up the name because I can't remember. It was like, well, would Gloria like that? Would Gloria use that? And there was a new person in the meeting, and they went, who's Gloria? And everyone's like, oh, that's our avatar. That's our ideal client. They gave her a name, and every idea that they have, they go, would Gloria want that? And if the answer is no, then you're not offering that new product, right? So when you're looking at your website, who's your Gloria or Sal or whatever you want to call your avatar? Would those words that you're using appeal to them? Would the images you're using appeal to them? My daughter's home and my dog is barking. But we know that. We knew that was going to happen. I told you that was going to happen.
We did.
That's okay.
I'm so glad Lulu's she's behaving and being quiet. So
my dog didn't trigger your dog. That's good.
No, she's sleeping, I think. Yeah. So number 8 is fresh content.
Fresh content.
Fresh content. That ties into SEO again. Everything goes back to SEO. And by fresh content, what I mean is not changing a couple things on an existing page. It's actually creating a fresh page. And that's why you hear so many people recommending blogging. And the reason for that
Yes.
is every new blog post that you put up is viewed by Google as a fresh page on your website. And
Every blog?
every blog post is a fresh page according to Google. So that's,
Interesting.
yeah, so that's why people recommend blogging. But I totally get that some people don't like writing, don't want to blog. It's a lot of work. You want to be consistent about it. So something that interior designers can think about for fresh content, if you're really adverse to blogging, is somehow have a main portfolio page, but perhaps there's a way that each project you've done gets its own page that a visitor to your website can click from your main portfolio page to see more. And that way, every time you have a new project that you've completed that you're adding to your website, you're creating a brand new portfolio page for that project.
Would that be hard to navigate though
Well, for example, on my website, I have a portfolio page, and what it has is a screenshot in a little computer mock-up, and then it says website design for, and then it says see full site, and there's a button there. And if you click on that button, it just takes you to another page where I have full screenshots of the entire website. So every time I finish a website project, I'm creating another page on my website.
Okay, I'm going to show this. I'm sharing the screen.
Well.
I'm sharing the screen on this one. Hold on.
Okay.
I don't know how everyone's going to be able to see it, but let's try. Which one? Okay, wait. I got to bring it up on the screen. I hate this is the one thing BeLive doesn't do very well is make one screen big enough, and it's never the right screen. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that for now. But so it might be hard for everyone to see, but you can go to time2task.com and see this yourself. But so you have a portfolio page, and as I scroll down, I love this. You put a picture of one of the websites you've done, and then over here, you're saying view this design. And when you click on it, I see it's oh, look at that. The problem, the solution. Wow.
And then screenshots of the website. Yeah. So it's a brand new page that I create each time.
Interesting. I like this idea for interior designers. And I like even the problem, the solution, and then they could go into more detail, which is going to put more copy, which is that's a great idea. See, you taught me another thing.
Yeah, they can just talk about the project, so maybe their main portfolio page is just the images. And, there's design tricks where you can hover over an image and there can be a learn more button over the image, and clients can click on that and it takes them to a page where there's more images of that project and maybe some details about the project.
And I'll tell you what's really impressive. It may not be hard for you to do, but it's always impressive to me to see images inside of iPads, computers, on books. I wonder what you could do for an interior designer, right? Where could there?
Right. Yeah. For this, it's pretty easy. And then the other thing I do is I do videos inside of the computer mockups as well.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I'll just take a video scrolling through a page and then I'll insert that into the mockup. And I use that on Instagram quite a bit because I know people like video. So
love that.
There's lots of fun things you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Fun things to do. Okay. This is where
designer. So blogging is always a fantastic thing to do if it's up your alley. And I totally get it's not for everybody.
It's not for everyone. You can hire someone to do it. You could do very small blogs, just something. I'm trying to take my sweater off because suddenly it's warm in here. it's something that people get hung up on because they get hung up on, well, how many words does it have to be? And, how do I put the pictures in? And and they get locked up in the details.
Yeah.
But I always say, you know what? Just start.
Yeah.
Like I did years ago, just start, doesn't have to be perfect. And as you continue to learn and grow by watching, Facebook Lives and webinars and coaching with coaches and working with web designers, you can then fill in the details and you can always go back. See,
yes, you can.
we actually go back also to old blogs and make adjustments. And that's also registered as a change in a web page.
Yes. And the other thing you can do with old blog posts is as you start to create your freebies to get people on your email list, and oftentimes people have more than one, if a new freebie suddenly relates to something you talked about in an old blog post, go insert a link to that page where they can download it in that blog post.
Yes, love it. Okay, hope everyone's taking notes. This is
I hope so too.
information packed. Okay.
So that was fresh content.
Okay.
9 and 10 are a little more techy. I apologize. But an SSL certificate is number 9. That stands for, I think it's secure socket. Anyways, SSL is when you see an HTTPS instead of an HTTP in the URL. And
Yes.
you also see a padlock next to it.
Yes.
And years ago, not everybody needed one. Google didn't care if you had one or not. It was really more for e-commerce if people were putting their credit card in on your website. Nowadays, that is totally different. Google will actually, I don't want to say push your page lower in their rankings if you don't have an SSL certificate, but they will not favor your page. Sometimes if you go to a page that doesn't have an SSL certificate, there will be like a warning flashing up.
I was just going to say, I got that twice today. I got that twice today. It wouldn't let me go without me. And it stops you. It's like, oh, wait, who is this from? Should I really click on that? And it stopped me from going to the next step because my computer warned me that it may not be a secure website. I was like, ooh.
So you're losing potential clients because they can't get to your website or they're scared to get there. You're being ranked lower in organic searches by Google because you don't have one. And what it actually does is it encrypts information that you're collecting on your website. So if someone is filling out your contact form, that information is encrypted so that hackers, let's face it, they're out there, aren't getting their email address, their address. If interior designers might often ask for an address to know if you're in their service area. So it's something kind to do for visitors to your website. You get an SSL certificate from your website host. Some will charge for it, some will not, and it's something that will need to be renewed. So you'll want to stay on top.
Yeah, I paid for mine. I don't know how much I paid, but I remember paying for it. And I remember getting to a point where I was like, wait, shouldn't I have that? Like, shouldn't I have a secure website? And some people still say, oh, it doesn't matter. But no, it matters.
It matters big time. Yes. Even if you just do it for SEO and nothing else, it matters. So I highly recommend it. It's Secure Socket Layer, I believe is what it stands for. SSL certificate, you want to be an HTTPS.
HTTPS. Now, your website and mine, they don't even have the HTTPS showing when it just goes right to nancyganzacoffer.com.
You see the padlock there, so you know.
But I see the padlock, right.
Yes, that's important.
Okay, look for the padlock, everybody. All right, and number 10?
Number 10 is you want a mobile responsive website. I'll just explain. I think most people know what that is, but that's when the design of your website will morph to fit the size screen that the visitor to your website is looking at your website on. So for example, it will look just as good on desktop as it does on a tablet, as it does on a cell phone. And there's a lot that goes into that, because think about the different screen sizes. When you're going from a desktop or a laptop all the way down to a little cell phone, that design needs to change. And
Yes.
it is very important. More people are using the internet on their cell phones nowadays than on their computers. So that how your website looks on a cell phone is really important.
Yeah, I mean, even we track how many people see from or looking from their phone or looking from their computer. We check that Facebook also, like,
Yes.
and it always lands more on mobile
Yes.
than it does
And you
on
can see all of
desktop.
that in your Google Analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And it's interesting. There are some website designers, I'm not one of them yet, who design for mobile first.
Really
Yes, and then we'll fix it up for desktop.
interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting. Yeah, I've checked. I've seen websites where I go on mobile. I'm like, ooh, do they even know? Have they even looked? And that's why it's important to have a knowledgeable web designer as well, not just someone who is doing it on the side. And if you're doing it yourself, I'm not saying you can't do it yourself. If you're capable of doing it yourself, these are things you have to be aware of
To think about
because it could
It's
really affect your business.
It can. I mean, we all want to have a beautiful website, but we need a strategic website as well so that it can actually be a functioning tool for our business.
Right. Okay, so run down 1 through 10, just the titles. So
Okay.
anyone who came in at the end can go back and listen if they need to for any particular one.
I'm going to look at my little list here.
Go ahead.
1 is simple navigation. 2, a clear call to action. 3, professional photography. 4, quality over quantity in your portfolio. 5, make use of testimonials on your website. 6, have your contact information and location. 7, have an about page that's unique to you. 8, create fresh content, whatever that might be for you.
Mm-hmm.
9, have an SSL certificate. And 10, make sure your site is mobile responsive.
Beautiful. Awesome. This was so helpful, Robin.
Thank you. I'm
I
glad.
hope people who are listening got a lot out of this, and I know they did. I know they're looking at their websites going, I think it's time. So tell everyone how to get to you.
Oh, sure. So my website is time2task.com, and my email address is hello@time2task.com. And there is a contact form on my website that you can fill out, and then you hear back from me via email within 24 hours, and we can book a connect call.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, I won't be here next week. I've been skipping some weeks anyway, but we won't be here next week, anyone, because of Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you. Are you doing anything nice for Thanksgiving?
I will be at home by myself, actually. I
No,
live
you have your dog.
I have Lulu, yes, but I live outside of Boston, and I don't want to eat indoors with my family that lives nearby. So if it's warm enough and we can eat outside, then I might go there, but otherwise I will be home.
Yeah, it's getting a little scary for sure again. And we are going to COVID test and have a small group of us together because my son's coming home from college and my other son's going to come from upstate. So crossing our fingers and toes that we're not each individually eating turkeys, although I don't eat turkey, I'm a pescatarian, but that we're not each individually eating some kind of a Thanksgiving sandwich instead of being together.
Yeah, see, I did not know you were a pescatarian. I'm a vegetarian.
I
No turkey
was
for me either.
I was vegan for, I think I lasted 3 to 4 months.
That's hard.
And then I introduced cheese back into my life because I really have trouble dealing with that. So I was a vegetarian, cheese and eggs and this. And then I was like, when I'm out to eat and I'm going out with friends, it was really hard not to be the pain in the ass at the table. So I thought, you know what? I'm okay with eating fish when I'm out. I don't cook it at home though. So, because I try to limit it. So yeah, I am.
I've been a vegetarian since 1994.
Really?
Yeah. It has gotten easier and easier as the years have gone on. Back then, it was hard, and especially if you were in Europe, practically impossible to get anything except like a side salad. So it's
Yes.
gotten much better now.
My youngest turned me on to it. He's called, there's a book called How Not to Die. And it's an amazing book about how I think it's the top 15 diseases before COVID, of what were killing people and how to prevent it. And it all came back to eating a plant-based diet. So I went strict plant-based for, 3 to 5 months. And then I'm weak. I'm weak.
I am too. I love my cheese. I love my eggs. I love my dairy. I mean, you can't cut everything out.
No, everything in moderation, cheers.
It works for you.
All right, everyone, go have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for being here. If you're coming in at the end, go back and listen because it's information packed, or you can catch all my weekend wind downs on YouTube and in my membership site. So if you want to take a look at the free content in my membership site, go to nancyganzacoffer.com. Top right corner is a button that says membership site, and that'll take you there. My newly redesigned membership site, which is I'm so proud of. My staff did such an amazing job. So thank you, Robin. Happy Thanksgiving. And I will see everybody soon. Bye everyone.